Thank you very much. Very excited to be here, and I am one of two chiropractors here in town. My office is the office on the way up Highway 136, just before you get to what was Larry's Restaurant. And been here in town for about 20 years now, and just really excited to finally get to speak to a group that has changed so much. It's been awesome to watch the evolution of the Alliance and the Chamber, and get a chance to speak to the people who've been, many of you, giving and loving and serving in this community longer than I've been here. And look at the fact that this is a group of people who are looking to shape and change the future of our community. And so the biggest mission that I have is to empower people to live a better quality and quantity of life. Not just survive, but to thrive. And the way that we do that is through the implementation of chiropractic and the 5 essentials. And so, as we go along, forgive me, as they said, it was my birthday. I turned 50 today, and I am very thankful to be here on my 50th birthday, getting to do something that is nerve-wracking, but yet I enjoy, which is public speaking, because it helps me transmit a message that I think all of us know. And that is, well, let me ask you, over the last 50 years, because that's all I can speak to, has the world, are our children getting healthier or sicker? We're seeing sickness, and we say this, and we know this, and we witness it, yet I want to put some data to it. So when we think about the State of the Union, and as I reflect back on my 50 years, I see this. The fact is that the World Health Organization, the American Medical Association, the American Diabetes, American Heart Association, everybody agrees that no less than 90% of all chronic disease in America is lifestyle and diet related. And yet, we have this healthcare system that has produced the fact that chronic disease, according to Blue Cross Blue Shield, they were looking at the millennials study, so they were looking at the fact that there are 378 million Americans, 73 million children, and of that 378 million Americans, 133 in 2018 were experiencing chronic disease that they were never expected to recover from, that was going to be managed and would progress throughout their lifetime. And they predicted in 2018 that by 2025, just a few months from now, 49% of Americans would suffer from chronic disease. What is the impact? The impact is that chronic disease accounts for 81% of hospital admissions. 91% of all prescriptions filled in America are for chronic disease. And the fact is that the United States is 5% of the world's population, but we consume, depending on the year, approximately 50% of the world's drugs. 50% of the world's pharmaceuticals being consumed by 5% of the world's population, and the Organization for Economic Collaboration and Development, the OECD, a group of 16 rich nations which shepherd the rest of the world. The United States, one of those 16 countries, ranks dead last in healthcare. We have the worst infant mortality, the worst maternal mortality. We have the lowest life expectancy at birth. 76% of all physician visits are due to chronic disease. And we know as healthcare practitioners, some of you are like me. We are the boots on the ground. We are the people, the techs, the doctors, the nurses, the people serving and loving and giving on a daily basis, and we know the strain. But we often also recognize there's a different thing running the show. Our healthcare system is guided by the pharmaceutical industry, the health insurance industry, and the chemical groups that makes those chemicals for the pharmaceutical groups, the American Medical Association. And we have to say that this is where we are. This is the State of the Union. Neurodevelopmental disorders, autism spectrum, now encompassing ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, all of these different diagnoses. Back in '74, when I was born, it was 1 in 2,500. It is now 1 in 36 children. We are on a freight train of neurodevelopmental disorders to which our government, to which our healthcare system, to which Harvard and the Mayo Clinic and everybody agrees there is multifactorial evidence that says no one cause. But we know that there are many things that are contributing to it, and that 90% of chronic disease is diet and lifestyle related, yet our healthcare system delivers us a flaw. Our healthcare system is masquerading. It is actually a sick care system. We are being sold a lie. And we've seen it since the beginning of the Jetsons and all of our cartoons, that you are going to be able to pharmaceutical your way out of a problem that you lifestyled your way into. And that is a lie. 90% of chronic disease, diet and lifestyle related. So unless we are going to be insane, and the definition of insanity according to Albert Einstein, who I know is smarter than me anyway, is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So in an effort to liberate us from insanity, Max Living, I am one of the chiropractors, 200 of us around the country, one community at a time, delivering a real healthcare system to give people something that they are deficient in, and that is hope. Hopefully we all have hope for salvation in our souls, but yet hope for our bodies and health care, and hope to hand down a legacy that disease does not run in our families. Diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, we all hear it, right? The reality is that runs in many people's families. And I have to be rude enough to say that often it runs in their family because no one runs in their family. And this is the reality that we have to talk to about health care. If we're going to make changes, we have to get real. And this is, unfortunately, a quote from the Medicare manual. Care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, and prolong or enhance the quality of life is not considered medically necessary. It is handed down from our government that this is, and there's the citation so you can look it up for yourself. All I do is promote health, enhance the quality of life, and prolong life. And the only reason it should be infuriating is because the only thing that gets paid for is medical necessity. This is why our children's health is declining. This is why childhood cancer is the fastest growing population of cancer in America. And what we need is a new vision. We need a vision that produces a strategy, that we execute the strategy and we have success, and success fuels the new vision. So I'll tell you a story about Alan Brown and Bill McDavid, who are both people in my office who allow me to speak about them, because Alan Brown about 4 years ago was going to be put onto the liver transplant list due to fatty liver disease and liver failure. He was 70 pounds overweight. He was on diabetes medication. He was diabetic, had heart disease, cholesterol problems, and he was on multiple medications for all of it. When he comes into my office to take life seriously because he knows he's possibly going to die from liver failure, he does whatever I say. And it was awesome to see his dedication. Because many of us, we have hope in other things, but yet we don't have another option to have hope in our health care. And he came to me and he said, I'll do whatever you want. And I said, okay, we're going to change your diet, we're going to get you exercising, we're going to get you functioning well enough. And he did. And he lost 70 pounds. He became non-diabetic. He is now off all of his cholesterol medication. He is off all cholesterol medication, and he has reversed in the last 3 years, he has reversed his stage 4 liver failure. He no longer has liver failure, and they said, hey, we'll see you next year. Bill McDavid, our current miracle patient, he spoke at my Building Healthy Families workshop last week. and about the fact that we have to reach a point where we're willing to do what is necessary to obtain what is possible. And that is that he's a school teacher and a great school teacher in Catoosa, and he knew he only had a couple of years before he could retire, and he thought he was going to make it, but he wasn't, because his diabetes was so out of control, his energy levels were down, and he was not going to make it. So again, he drives from over in Catoosa to see me because he hears about the things that we do, and he starts the program. And what happens? He speaks last week that he has reduced his insulin from 80 units down to 30. He is off 2 of his 3 diabetes medications. He has lost 40 pounds, and by October, he expects to be non-diabetic. All of this at the chiropractor. And as Alan Brown told his doctor about his liver failure, and the doctor said, "Well, how'd you do this? You're 67 years old. We've never seen this." Hear that. A specialist saying, we've never seen a 67-year-old reverse their heart disease, reverse their liver failure, reverse their diabetes. And he said, "Well, it was my chiropractor." And they scoffed. And he said, "Well, no. I had gained all this weight. I couldn't exercise. He adjusted me, got me functioning well enough to where I could exercise. He took the time with my nutrition. He gave me the exercises I could do, and then he kept me doing with my diet, and he stuck with me long enough for me to do this. Why didn't you?" And that was the end of their conversation. And so, what is this strategy? It is the reality of the way that this world was created. Our default state is health. We were created in an image to thrive and do good. And our world, and we are being bought and sold and marketed to the exact opposite of that. It's a pill for every ill. Squander the one thing, and this is what changed this whole talk this morning on my way down the mountain was, I'm 50. Whoa. At least half my time is over. Have I redeemed my time? Am I leaving the world for my children better than I saw it? And the answer was no. You're not doing enough. And so I'm so thankful to be here to get to do a little something more. Because the reality is that God made the law of cause and effect, gravity, aerodynamics, inertia, momentum, all of these things that govern the world that we live in. And we know not to jump off a building, but as a society, we don't know that sugar is poison. We don't adhere to the laws that keep us in alignment with the way our bodies are made, but yet we follow the rules of gravity and other things. And I love the quote from Dr. Charles Majors, "The cause is the cure." If we remove the cause to the problem, diabetes, take away the carbohydrates, get rid of the body insensitivity through increasing cardiovascular output, and recondition the body to assimilate it, we get rid of diabetes. We reverse it. Heart disease, cancer, all of these things we see reversed in our office. Not because I fix it, but because the body's default state is health. Our soul, our spirit, our innate intelligence, whatever science word or however you believe, use what you want. Our default state is to survive, to thrive. The law of cause and effect says that it is our belief structure that makes our choices. And if we believe that we can do whatever we want, and at the end of it we just take a pill or a chemo or a whatever and we reverse all the damage, then we act completely different than we would if we knew the value of our health like many of us do, right? We look around and we say, now I know it's the most valuable thing I have. My time, my relationships, my health, and how I can interact with the world. Our children need to be shown that with hope instead of the legacy that Alzheimer's and diabetes and all these things run in their family. The emotional experience happens in our nervous system. Our brain and our spinal cord tell all of the organs what hormones to produce. Serotonin, dopamine, neurotransmitters, all of that stuff is controlling and coordinating by our brain and our spinal cord. Traumas are not just physical. Hey, I know them. Caught in a transfer trailer accident, herniated 5 discs in my low back, and compression fractured 2 vertebrae in my mid-back when I was 20 years old, spent a year of my life in bed, overcome opioid addiction. Due to the pain medicine they gave me that they told me was my only option. I didn't have insurance. I was a college kid living on my own at UGA. I know that system. But the traumas are tech neck, constant strain on the neurotransmitters, the cervical spine, the postural deformities that cause intrathoracic pressure, which limits the amount of oxygen that the lungs can pump, puts pressure on the heart, decrease in cardiac output. Our 5-year-olds now look 90. We used to make fun of that. Look at that, right? As a kid, you saw it rarely. Now it's every teenager in every backpack and everything is constantly, it's so much so now that the American Medical Association and the World Health Organization say that sitting is the new smoking. It decreases our activity and it contributes to obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, all our major killers. Toxins. Our world is more toxic now than it was. We understand that the cleaning solutions, we understand that Monsanto lost a lawsuit about Roundup and had to pay $10 billion to the people that they know that they cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That rise was due to the Roundup that we are using still to this day that's been renamed by Bayer, who bought out Monsanto so that they could keep producing it. We took BPA out of childhood toys, but they just replaced it with BPS and BPF, almost identical chemicals. And all we're waiting for is the research that will prove that it's toxic. But if you're using plastic, you're getting the chemicals that increase the risk for every organ cancer, glandular cancer, things like testicular, breast, ovarian, all of the majors. So what do we need? We need a new system. And that's what we're doing, one community at a time. Providing the system that says we are going to address 90% of the cause of chronic disease in America by the lifestyle and the nutrition. So what does that look like? Our thought life determines our actions determine our outcomes, and it determines what we hand down. I want to change that. We want hope instead of despair. We want options instead of this is the only thing you get. You're destined to have the drugs and the surgeries. And if the drugs and the surgeries don't work, well, then we'll give you more drugs and surgeries to make you feel better while you die sooner. That's what's out there. Nutrition. 73% of the food inside of our grocery stores is ultra-processed junk. Our focus is that it's diet instead of health. And when you have a diet, you do die much quicker than you would if you focused on health when you heal. And so we have to remove that processed junk. We have to be understanding that even baby formula is on the list of ultra-processed foods. And I understand there's sometimes medical need that a woman cannot produce milk and that child has to have it, and so be it. But we have to recognize that most of the time it's a convenience thing, and we need to educate mothers that the best thing that they could do is start with the original food. More food made by God and less by man. And that was breast milk. The original food. And if we get a fresh start and then we raise them in this, that 90%, if 90% of the cause is lifestyle, then 90% of the cure is lifestyle. Remove the cause because it's the cure. How do we do that? Healthy fats. Healthy fats and proteins have to be talked about at the same time. For many of us, we get our healthy fats from our proteins like animal products. We have a part of the chamber in the Alliance. Iron Roots Pastures is a regenerative organic farm just down the way in Rising Pond, Georgia. Changing an opportunity. We're a drop point. You can go onto their website, order your food. It's in a refrigerator waiting at my office for you to pick up. They have milk for your pets, of course, and of course chicken and eggs and all the things, and pretty soon beef and pork. But healthy fat is from nuts and seeds. Oh, by the way, the fastest growing part of cancer in children in America today is brain cancer. Your brain is 90% fat. We need more healthy fat. Avocados, nuts and seeds, mono oils, olive oil, and coconut oil for low temperature cooking, avocado oil and grapeseed oil for high temperature cooking. They have different smoke points, so you want to use them in their ranges. We want to get rid of the highly heat pasteurized and processed canola oil and vegetable oils that go into plastic bottles that have those chemicals in them, that pull those chemicals into the oils, and then we are increasing the risk of cancer when you're taking in those oils. They're rancid to begin with, they go into plastic, and they pull those chemicals in there because they're put in at high heat. Organic, healthy animals, things that are out at the pasture running and playing, because right now we get to watch the Olympics, right? The pinnacle of experience. Yeah, right, we want to watch it, but we're probably busy. You know, it's like one of those things, we're wanting to watch more of it. We see the pinnacle of human performance, of athletes honing their craft, their nutrition, their thoughts, their exercise, everything about that perfect experience. But yet most of Americans are couch potatoes. And if we eat couch potato animals, well, then we get unhealthy protein and fats, and we become unhealthy. The fruits and vegetables. EWG.org is a website that has 2 apps that you can download onto your phone called Healthy Living and Food Scores. You can take that app and scan the barcode of your deodorant, and it will tell you how toxic it is, how cancerous it is, how allergic it is. You can learn the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, 12 most pesticide-ridden foods, and the 15 cleanest vegetables out there. Of course, it'd be better to eat them all organic, but that helps us save money, right? Then we have our grains, and the fact that ultra-processed junk, most of the grains that are out there are GMO and toxic, and we need to just eat less of them. Einkorn wheat, buckwheat, aramuth, kamut, quinoa. These are things that we can make flours out of and cook with and do other recipes with to reduce our toxic load. Because when you take the thoughts, the traumas, and the toxins and you boil them all down, human cellular survival and health is boiled down to one thing, or well, 3 things. Disease is caused by these 3 things: a deficiency, a toxicity, or a loss of control. So if a body part loses control of its environment, it will begin to produce disease. If it doesn't have what it needs, or it is toxic in something that it doesn't need, things go awry, and then the cell, the tissue, and the organ system affect the rest of the body. So our nutrition, and in 5 essentials, we talk about it as our thoughts, our mindset is essential number 1. Nutrition is essential number 2. And when we use non-toxic, which essential number 5 is toxicity, we're reducing toxicity by having cleaner nutrition. We're improving our nutrition, which gives us the nutrition we need. That removes deficiencies. We know that prenatal vitamins were instituted because if you don't have the right vitamins, you have neurodevelopmental problems like spina bifida and caudaquarine and all these things, and the brains of our children weren't developing birth defects if we didn't do that. Well, other nutritional deficiencies apply. So we want to minimize those deficiencies through healthy nutrition. We want to be aware that one of the toxins we need to reduce is screen time. And I'll step back and say that, you know what? Nutrition starts the generation or 2 generations prior, because the healthy woman should have a healthier womb, and that child will be raised in a less toxic environment because the nutrition that's provided for that child during development is in the womb. It's the bloodstream of the mom. And one of the next things as we move out and we get into this screen time, research shows that developmental delays happen to children who experience screen time prior to 18 months old. It affects their language, their reading, their balance, their coordination, all of these things. And this is what the Mayo Clinic has to say. Children are hooked on electronics. In fact, gaming releases so much dopamine, the quote, feel-good chemical, the brain scans of children gaming look the same as those using cocaine. That's the amount of surge that they get, and that's why they're hooked. Serotonin, one of the other chemicals that we know, serotonin reuptake inhibitors, in fact, affecting depression and anxiety. To which that millennials study, the Blue Cross Blue Shield study, that they showed that there was no less than a 200% increase in diabetes, heart disease, cancer, anxiety, and depression inside of that generation. Because they were looking at where they were losing money. And the reality is that serotonin, this is what they have to say about that. Serotonin production, spending too much time in front of screens and less time outdoors in the sun, using the body, creates this lack of activity, leads to the underproduction of serotonin in the brain. So we're seeing epidemic portions of anxiety and depression, children who don't know what they are, who they are, where they're going in life. We're seeing this chasm of ups and downs of depression and anxiety because dopamine's going off the charts, serotonin's going down, and we're creating a bigger imbalance. This is a part of the science of what we're experiencing socially. We see that the fact is one of the other essentials that we have in Max Living is exercise. Not because of the bikini body, not because we want to, it's summertime, right? So that has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with the fact that our exercise and oxygen is what the body needs, right? Within 6 minutes of depriving the brain of oxygen, you're brain dead. If you're ever become brain dead, you'll never be you again. We know that this is the control mechanism to which stimulates life in the rest of the body. So health and exercise is only about delivering that essential nutrient, oxygen, and all of the nutrition that we absorb from our digestive system to the cells of our body. Because if a cell is deficient in oxygen, it changes to fermenting sugar for its fuel, because it has to have fuel called ATP, and that creates acidosis in the cells, which creates genetic damage, which we know genetic damage is one of the causes of cancer. So the lack of exercise is even affecting our rates of cancer. This is because the body is deficient in an essential nutrient. So when we exercise, we deliver that oxygen, we deliver the nutrition, we carry away the cellular waste to minimize the toxins that we don't need in our body. 22% of kids in the United States get an hour of moderate to vigorous exercise 5 days a week. Just an hour. Everybody's done eating, so let's have a fun experience. How about we stand up? Everybody but the videoer. Let's all stand up. We're going to do something called high-intensity interval training, and we're just going to use our hands so that we don't shake our bellies too much because we're full, right? So we're going to be going punching as hard as we can for 20 seconds. The point of high-intensity interval training is to get to 90% output and drop back down, 90% output and drop back down. So in 3, 2, 1. We're hitting as hard as we can. We're using our bodies to try to get to 90%. It can be simple. We're standing here. We don't need any equipment. We're not going anywhere. It doesn't require special shoes. Nothing. We're able to do it right here, and it's just 20 seconds. And so as we go and rest.
I feel like dancing now.
Now, all right, good. We'll do that after. So as we breathe and deliver that essential oxygen, we release carbon dioxide. We just made something awesome happen. When you go to 90%, your body simulated a fight. You calm back down, you won. When you do it repeatedly, in a short interval of time, you burn the stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol is the long-acting hormone that elevates blood pressure, mobilizes blood sugar, forces the body to have higher blood pressure and higher cholesterol in case you get wounded by the bear and you need to clot your blood. It increases clotting factors and all of these things that in a short situation would save your life, but the chronic situation causes disease. Let's have a seat. So when we use high-intensity interval training, we can burn off the stress hormone that is epidemic and is making all of our major killers like high blood pressure, chronic heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. We can make them all better just by changing how we exercise. So that's something we want to incorporate and let our children know. Chemical interference. The top 5 toxic things are our unfiltered water. Dade County does as good a job as any other municipal supply in the country, but yet we cannot keep up with the amount of pesticides and herbicides and pharmaceuticals that are being flushed down the toilet. And so taking a simple stage 3 water filter, putting it right onto your spigot and filtering your water into stainless steel or glass only. Plastic, Harvard did a study, using plastic water bottles on their students showed a 90% increase in BPA in their body. So we want to just take that filtered water and put it into things that are stationary, or I should say, they're inert. Frankenfood, we've already talked about. Taking that processed food out of our bodies and taking it out of our diet and teaching our kids. I'll tell a story. We were doing a spinal screening and a backpack safety thing at Macedonia Church in Eider this past Sunday. And my children, they know the rules. They know how we live. And I was busy in a different room, and all the food was over there. So being teenagers, I come into the room and I find my 2 teenagers with cups of coffee, Nutty Butters and all the candy and everything. And they've got a mound of trash sitting on their thing. And I walked over and they saw the horror on my face and I gave them this and just turned around and walked off, and then met them in the hallway to pockets stuffed with, they look like chipmunks. They had all this stuff in their pockets, Little Debbie's and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, come on, guys. Really? So we all have it. It's something we battle, and it's something that they see as the forbidden fruit. But mostly they just eat fruit. And the reality is that's their treats. And so we want to get used to that concept. We need to minimize the toxic cleaners. EWG.org has tons of recipes for clean, healthy cleaners, cosmetics. That's a whole thing. We could talk about the toxic top 5 for its own entity here today. Decreasing aluminum and heavy metals is another thing that we need to do inside of our society for one thing: health. So many of us exist in the comfort zone of false wellness, where like a cavity in our teeth, we don't experience it until the hole is so big it hits a nerve root. And we wait till the heart attack or the stroke to start eating better and exercising and doing the things that we knew, getting to a healthy weight, doing all of the things. When health is experienced, it's homeostasis, which is 100% function. And my job is to raise generations in helping people experience things like Bill McDavid and Alan Brown, that this is just the way we were designed to be. We're supposed to be healthy and vital, here to do good, to be an example of God's grace in our lives. All of the things that I've talked about today contribute to our health. But the central nervous system controls our health. And it is the thermostat of our body. It controls our hormonal system, our immune system, our every cardiovascular, the digestive. It is the orchestra leader. It controls and coordinates all of these functions to keep us alive, whether we're sitting here or whether we're doing punches or whatever. It changes everything to make us survive and thrive. And if this is the concept of chiropractic, it is not for back pain. Chiropractic is here to say, it is actually defined in 1895 as the philosophy, art, and science of things natural. Then there's a colon, and it says a system of adjusting the segments of the spine to remove the cause of dis-ease in the body, a lack of ease in the body. That's its definition. And if the shield, the armor that surrounds and protects the most vulnerable part of us becomes subluxated, misaligned, stuck out of position, whether it's like the truck wreck that I had or the 6 concussions I got playing football, or whether it's the learning to walk. You've seen how many times, I have a 4-year-old, so I just watched this little girl learn to walk. And so and play, and she falls every day still. Or the bike wrecks, or the whatever. If things get stuck out of alignment, whatever's at the end of those nerves no longer works right, and the body compensates for that lack of information. The reality is that 90% of the nervous system is dedicated to function. That's why you don't have to think about digesting this meal, your blood pressure, or anything. Those nerves cannot signal pain. They are a motor nerve to tell the organ what to do, or a sensory nerve back to the brain to tell the brain what the function is every second of every day. So 90% of the time, you don't know if you're subluxated. You don't know if the nervous system that's controlling your life is offline and your internet is running slow. So that's why chiropractors take x-rays, to look under the hood, to look at the alignment of your spine, to see how it's protecting your nervous system, because the nervous system is the important part, not the spine. Even though, yes, it's the #1 cause of disability worldwide, spine-related problems. So yes, we want to help reduce disability. But that's not what it's about. It's about producing health, because what's inside of it controls your health. So the first step to people becoming a patient, just like Alan and Bill McDavid, they go through the same process. The first visit at a chiropractor is consultation on your health history, then an exam to see if you're subluxated. If you're subluxated, then we take x-rays of your spine. You are the people, like I said, many of you giving and loving and serving at greater degrees for longer periods of time than I've been here. So one of the things I'm going to do today is, for those of you who are interested, you can get a coupon or a gift certificate. Anna will be over there at the table, and you can get a free exam, x-rays, and consultation in my office to understand how to help yourself be healthier. This is the opportunity. We do these sometimes at outreach opportunities, but this is one where I know your hearts and the service-mindedness of you. So I want to reward that. That's the typical first day, though, for every patient, is the exam consultation. The second visit is where we come in and talk about those x-rays. Then if that person decides to, we get them adjusted. And right afterwards, we measure how much their spine changed by taking a follow-up x-ray. That determines how long it's going to take to rehab what they need, right? Wherever they were subluxated. How bad was it? How long is it going to take to fix it? That's the third visit, and that visit's free. And the person comes in, they come to their doctor's report, we go back and look at their x-rays, we give them their care plan, and they get to decide if they want to fix their health problems, and they want us to be on their health team. Because our intention is single focus. More health, more life, better quality, quantity. That's all I'm here to do. To do the thing that Medicare won't pay me to do. It's why I'm out of network with every insurance company. Out of network. I can give you a super bill and you can file it, but I won't file it. I work for my patients. I don't work for the system. Medically necessary, exactly. We give you the paperwork that shows what part of your care was medically necessary. So for y'all, afterwards, you're welcome to go over and get a gift certificate, sign up for your new patient appointments. But the biggest thing that I wanted to do by being here is to let you know my mission. That I'm the local chapter of Max Living that is here to provide the health care. I need you to understand that we support you in removing the processed food from your diet, from limiting the screen time, from helping you prioritize and implement exercise into your daily life. Remember, we call it exercise. Kids call it play. They just do it. They run, they jump, they do everything at 90% or 100%, and then they calm down, they laugh, they have a good time, they make fun of their friends, and then they go back and do it again. Why can't we as adults turn ourselves? We laughed after we did the punches, right? We just need to get more playful. We could play with our kids. That quality time we can never get back. Let's just get back to that thing we all know, that our relationships, our health is the most valuable thing that we have. I want to create more of this. And the only way we're going to do that is to change this community. I would like to ask you for the opportunity to come to your small groups at church, to come to your clubs, to come to wherever you have 5 people, I'll show up and speak about the opportunity for people to choose a different healthcare system that provides them hope and options, and provide them to choose what they don't know even exists. That right here in Dade County, don't have to drive to Nashville or Atlanta or Chattanooga. It's right here. And that's what I'm here to do, is give and love and serve in healthcare, just like you each do in your own facet. And my job is to help you do that better, to honor our gifts and talents that God gave us. And I thank you for your time. I appreciate it.